Hey, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Self Love Talks. It's fabulous to be with you again this week. And today I'm going to be talking about self-connection and how it is actually the route that you need to take for your greatest self-empowerment. And I'm going to explain why and I'm going to explain how. But in the meantime, before we get into that, just want to thank you for being here, for sharing this space with me. And I'm going to invite you into setting a space for yourself to listen to this, wherever you are right now. Maybe you're multitasking or you're just sitting here being really present, whatever you're doing, just make a little dedication that this is actually a time for you to connect with yourself and for you to explore what that does for you and why it's so important, okay? And if you're enjoying this, then please say some comments in the chat box below and I'll be able to see that. And also think about subscribing and liking so that it boosts the channel and helps other people connect with themselves as well. So thanks for being here. I'm Tara Love Perry. I'm a self-love teacher and a soul reader. And I've been helping people connect with themselves for, oh my gosh, now 20 years or something. And by doing this self-connection, I see that it's the first step to everything else. Okay, I see a lot of clients and a lot of people around the world that I've been teaching for many, many years. And it's like when people are lost, when people are feeling like they don't know which direction to go in, what their gifts are, what their purpose is, they're struggling to connect in relationships with others, struggling to connect with their sense of meaning in life, struggling to connect with a sense of their own self-identity even, and what this is all about, this human life, and why you're here. It really comes back down to this very, very fundamental thing of self-connection. And I'm going to explain what that means in a minute and how deep this goes. But if you think about it for a moment, all of life, every single thing in your life, every aspect, everything that you experience is a relationship that you're having with it. So you're immediately going to start thinking of your family relationships, your friendships, your intimate relationships, partners. You'll think about your colleagues at work. You'll think about your relationship with people on a daily basis in shops or wherever you go. That's your day-to-day life, is those connections, those relationships. And then when you get really deep into it, it's like actually your connection with life itself, your life is a relationship. You have a relationship with yourself as a human being on this planet, in a physical body, as matter, as spirit experiencing itself as matter, as a human being. You have a relationship with your source, your divinity, your God, however you want to relate to that, the universe, with consciousness itself. So everything that you experience ever, and everything that you are, is in fact a relationship. Even the way your cells communicate with each other is a relationship, and that relationship can work or not work so well. Your relationship with your mind and how your parts of your brain connect with one another, that's a relationship. How is the parts of your brain connecting? Is that a good relationship? Do you have a good relationship to your own mind? Do you have a good relationship with your own body? Do you have a relationship with your spirit? Do you have a relationship with your soul? Now, of course, you do, in fact, have a relationship, but like anything, it needs to be nurtured. And first of all, before you can even get to the nurturing part, to understand if it's working or not working, to see where that relationship needs developing, where it needs some more security, where it needs more empathy, where it needs more just attention of any kind to make that relationship work more in harmony for you, then it needs that connection first. Because without the connection, you actually have relationships, but you're disconnected from them. Your awareness is not plugged in. Does that make sense? So this is where you will feel lost. You will feel unable to connect with others, or unable to connect to your spirit, or unable to feel a connection to this earth, or to your purpose, or to your child, or whatever it is. So your relationship with everything actually comes back down to this very fundamental thing that happens inside of you, which is your connection to yourself, because you are, in fact, the center of your whole universe, your whole life. And everything that happens to you is a result of how you connect to yourself, and therefore are connecting back to everything outside of you. Does that make sense? So if you can understand and have this realization right now, that's pretty profound. And to have that realization that actually self-connection is everything. And without it, you're adrift, you're lost. And in some areas of your life, you will have better connection than others, just like you have a better connection with certain parts of yourself than others. For example, you might be a gymnast or a sports person, or you enjoy fitness, and therefore you have a good relationship, a good connection to your muscles, to your physical body, to your strength, to your endurance, to your whatever it is. And that you might, rightly so, feel very appreciative of that and very proud of that. But there'll be other areas where you're not so connected. And this is now what I'm going to talk about is really fundamental. It's how to get the certain level of self-connection that plugs you in so thoroughly to who you are, so that you can then start to build upon that relationship with yourself, give yourself what you need in your own self-connection, self-love relationship. And by doing so, you restore yourself. And then not only restore yourself to, like, let's say the neutral, to a place that's working, but then you can really empower yourself, really grow and develop yourself, because you know how, because you've taken care of the first step of connecting, right? So you can take this to whichever level you are choosing at any one time to build upon that relationship with yourself and enhance yourself in any area of yourself and your life that you wish. And it kind of makes you unstoppable. It takes away the limitations. It really opens up that route to how you become empowered in yourself as a sovereign, powerful, switched on, self-aware, conscious, and self-responsible, self-reliant, and very autonomous individual. And from that place, it's like, wow, what do you want, where do you want to take that? What do you want to do with that next? Right? So hopefully that makes sense for you. That's clicking for you. You're realizing now, like, actually, let me pay attention. This is important. This is life-changing. This is a complete game changer. And so for those of you that know me and have followed me for a while, or you have done my programs, you'll know that I teach 7 steps to transformational self-love. And this program came around a long time ago. I've been using it all over the world for many, many years. And the results are phenomenal depending on how you use it, right? The tools are perfect. It's, excuse me, it's how you then decide to use your tools and how much you're willing to connect with and love yourself that has the results, which are, unlimited, I would say. And so out of those 7 steps of transformational self-love, the one that I'm talking about today is the first step, which is self-connection. And so now that you understand the importance of self-connection, how do you do it? So what just happened there is a breath. And what happens constantly in your life inside of you, whether you realize it or not, is that you are being connected. Your consciousness, your spirit is being connected to your body in every single moment that you exist, from the very first moment you were born till your very last moment in this body, by your breath. That's the connector, that's the strand that enables your spirit to be delivered into your physical form, and that activation of your physicality, your activation of your humanness, this temporal body that you relate to as you. And it connects the you that's invisible. It connects the spirit of you, which is infinite, into this mortal, finite matter. So that there is the ultimate in connection. It's happening whether you practice it, become conscious of it, utilize that power or not. So connection starts with you connecting to your breath. And I'm not talking about doing a particular kind of breathing exercise like I don't know, any number of the breath exercises that are out there, and they're fantastic, by the way. There's some really, really brilliant ones that get you into a certain state of trance or emotional release. I'm talking about purely receiving your breath as unconditionally as it's given, and noticing in every way that your breath connects to you. It's amazing. It's like if you imagine a lifeline being dropped down to you, and in that lifeline, and on the other end of that lifeline, is everything that you want, everything you could have ever dreamed of, everything you hope and wish to become. And it's simply a matter of you grabbing on and holding that lifeline and understanding it, being conscious of it as it is conscious of you. It's like holding the hand of your beloved, holding the hand of your divinity, and bringing those two together so that there is no more separation, there's no more disconnection. And this step is actually really hard for a lot of people because we're so programmed, we're so trained to not want to have our attention focused on something as basic and simple as breathing. Even though it's fundamental to your entire existence and it's everything. Without it, you're literally nothing. But it seems almost too simple for people to go, well, I think the answer should be more complicated. And we're so trained to look outside of ourselves for the answers, for the solution, for somebody else to do the hard work for you, for somebody else to take the responsibility, for somebody else to give you the answer, for somebody else to help you feel more connected to yourself, rather than you taking the responsibility to be self-connected and not needing anyone else. It's that step from codependency on others and everything around you, the state, the nanny state, the institutions, the media, the marketing, everything, and actually be that independent, self-reliant, grown up that says, I am going to actually choose myself, and to bring your attention back in. So from out there in the world, to retune your attention to within. And that again is very simple. It's not hard. It just means actually closing your eyes, tuning your listening, tuning your feeling, tuning every single one of your senses, including your voice that speaks out to the world, including your hands that go out to others, and bring those back to yourself. These are very, very powerful tools for connection. Just think for a moment how powerful it is when you put your hand on someone. You can communicate so much through touch. It could be stop, wait. It could be I really care about you. It could be there, I'm feeling empathy for you. It can be affirming. And when you feel that essence of what you're communicating coming out through your hands and you bring it back to yourself, when you use your words, and instead of using your words to try and speak and get connection with others, you use them to get connection with yourself. These are incredibly powerful, and it's so simple. And another really vital thing, which again has been trained out of people to a really alarming extent, is that we're programmed to constantly give, to constantly put our energy, like pouring our energy into other people's cups, so that eventually somebody will pour energy into our cup. It's like if I feed you, there's this unspoken agreement maybe, or contract, that if I pour water into your cup, or if I feed you and I do that well enough or right enough and I get your approval, that you'll give that back to me. And I'm not saying that this is to be done instead of having relationships with others. I'm saying this relationship with yourself needs to happen first, because it will transform your relationships with others. It will transform the kind of relationships that you have and how those relationships go. So if you can, if you like, pour water into your own cup and feed yourself, you become self-sustainable, which makes you more powerful, right? You have more options, you have more choices, you can have better discernment. And so instead of immediately going towards trying to give to get something that you need, give it to yourself and learn how to receive. Right? Receiving is so difficult for people. I had a client today, I was doing a reading with her, and she's just one of, thousands of people that I see that really struggle just to open up and trust her own breath, to trust that she can use her senses to connect with herself and feel herself, because it feels vulnerable. We're trained away from connecting to ourselves. We abandon ourselves constantly, looking for something to satiate us, to please us, to gratify us, to approve of us, to love us. And then we fall short and we get broken, we get hurt, we get really feel betrayed by life and by other people. And it's quite simply because we need to put first things first and learn how to first receive. And if you think about it, your very first nature is to receive. When you were born, when you came out of your mother's womb, you didn't come out giving. You came out unconditionally receiving. You had to. You were so soft, you were so vulnerable, you were so innocent. You were just there, trusting life to feed you, to sustain you, to breathe you, to give you everything that you needed so that you could live and be where you are now. And of course, that does feel vulnerable. And we don't stay as a baby. We don't stay dependent on others. At a certain point, we grow up enough to go, I am no longer going to be dependent on others. I am now no longer a child. I'm going to be self-dependent, independent. And I'm going to learn how to receive from myself. I'm going to learn how to receive from life in a way where I'm holding me. I'm validating me. I'm listening to me the way I want to be listened to. I'm speaking to me the way I want to be spoken to. I'm empathizing and feeling me the way I really wish and long for others to feel and empathize with me. We take that responsibility for the parts of ourselves where we're still waiting for other people to take responsibility for us, right? And so when you start to learn how to give to yourself and then receive, you complete that relationship. You learn how to give really well, how to give really good attention, and how to receive your own attention in a way that fills every last little part of you, so that you don't have empty spaces, you don't have gaps, you don't have holes inside of you that are left starving and aching and longing for someone else. You complete yourself, you fulfill yourself. And it's quite simple, because you're just doing what you've always done, which is receiving a breath, receiving connection. Your very first action that you ever took in life was to receive a breath. And unless you received that breath, you wouldn't have another one. You wouldn't be able to give or do anything. Receiving really is your very first nature, the very first thing that you do. You literally receive life. And if you can get yourself into such a state of relaxation, of softness, like you were when you were a baby, right? Your cells in your body have that memory, even if your mind doesn't remember. And you begin to find those areas of yourself that have closed off, that have become untrusting, that have closed off to life and to people and to all of the things that have scared you and let you down. And you find those places within yourself simply by noticing, where does it feel tight? Where does it feel closed? Where do I feel disconnected? Where do I not want to go because I'm afraid of what I've stored in there that's been abandoned so long, or it's taken on so much hurt that you don't want to go to that part of yourself? Like avoiding a big room in your house, or even avoiding all the rooms in your house because it's so full of junk and you had bad memories in there, you don't want to go in anymore. Right? So you're not even living in your own home anymore. You're somewhere on the roof, right? This is what a lot of people do. They're up here in the head or out there somewhere because this home of your body, of your being, is so full of those painful memories that you literally don't want to reconnect. You don't want to come back to you. So it's a decision to say, okay, I've blocked off too much and I'm disconnected. And the more disconnected I am, the more afraid I am, the more vulnerable I am, the more hurt I'm getting. And to reverse that means coming back in, reconnecting, facing the parts of yourself that have been abandoned and that you've abandoned and that have taken on the hurt, and say, okay, I'm going to come back in, open those places up, be vulnerable to myself, right? Set a safe space for yourself. You don't have to do this with other people. You can be somewhere really comfortable, really warm, really safe. And soften the body, soften yourself, soften your emotions. Soften the tension in your head, soften the tension that builds up around your senses, the back of your eyes, your inner ears, your jaw, your face, your throat, your mouth. All of these sensory mechanisms that get so tight because you're so trying to get the connection you want externally, and soften them like that little baby that you once were. Because you have to be soft and able to receive. If you've got closed doors and a tightly closed jaw and a closed throat and a closed mind and a closed heart and a closed, everything, you're not in a receptive state. It is going to be hard for others to connect with you, and it's going to be hard for you to connect with yourself. You're making your life harder. It's even hard for your breath to connect with you, even though your breath has never abandoned you and still hasn't abandoned you and doesn't want to abandon you, right? Your spirit, your great spirit, your divinity, your light. You're blocking it out by trying to control your breath, by closing up against it, by keeping that breath really shallow, by using your nose to block out, how much you're receiving. So to receive is the opposite, it's to open. Open the eyes on the inside to yourself. Open your ears, open your mouth, open to the breath. Allow it in to all of the places that you've closed off against it. And even just by doing this, being so soft, making that decision, allowing parts of you to open and then open more deeply and surrender to your breath, surrender to that which is always connecting with you, which wants to connect more deeply until it's deep, deep, deep down, right into your sitting place, right into every cell of you. And you allow that in, you are essentially letting God into every part of you. You're letting your divinity in. You're letting the light in. You're letting your essential spirit in. And it's a relief to stop fighting against life. It's a relief to come back to that innocent state, that receiving state. And as you start to receive more, you start to feel safer. You start to feel more connected automatically. It feels like a relief to let go and let your breath in. And notice the qualities of your breath. Notice how your breath connects to you. Notice how softly it strokes you on the inside. Notice that it kisses you into life, breath after breath, and how it wants to meet every single part of you within you and kiss every part of you into life and feed you and give to you unconditionally. That will reverse anxiety. That will reverse stress. That will reverse any post-traumatic stress disorders. That will reverse any sense of being lost or abandoned. You will start to realize, I am given to. I am connected with. I am loved. And it's up to me to receive it and notice what's already being given. The most crucial thing that's being given. And then everything else can build around that. You've got to make space. You've got to choose to be open to yourself and to life. And see how unconditionally receiving to yourself and to life you can become. You can use the analogy of a plant in the garden. Think of a little flower. Think of a little, I don't know, like a little rose growing in the garden. How unconditionally does that rose receive the light of the sun, receive the air, receive the water into itself, into its soil, down into its roots? It doesn't just receive the sunlight with the bulb of the flower head. It receives that sunlight using the whole of the flower, all of the petals, and it receives the photosynthesis, the sunlight, down through the stem, down into its roots, all the way into every part of itself. Even beneath the soil where the sun doesn't shine, it draws that light in and down. It doesn't just receive the raindrops on its petals, it receives it deeply into the roots, it soaks it in. And that's how the rosebush blooms, that's how it thrives, is receiving. To give off that beautiful scent, to give off the beautiful colors, to give off everything that it gives so that the bees come and the nectar is created and everything else happens. And it becomes part of the sustainable ecosystem. And so you are very much like that rosebud, that rose plant, or any other plant that you want to relate yourself to. Your first nature is to receive that connection with life itself, receiving yourself as that little being that you are, as that rose bush, fulfilling yourself. And so that you are so sustained in that relationship with yourself and with life, that then you begin to give back your essence to the world. Your gifts come out, your gifts bloom and blossom. Your beauty, your brilliance, your genius, your talents, everything magnificent about you can blossom and bloom for the world to see, for people to appreciate, so that you're recognized and seen for who you truly are. You're authentic in the world after you've been authentic with yourself. Because I know people talk about this a lot, and I nearly made it the title of this video, this podcast, of like authentic self-connection. And that's a phrase people are using a lot right now. How do I get authentic self-connection? because I want to show up authentically in the world. Well, it doesn't mean trying on different identities and trying on different versions of yourself and trying to improve how you look or how you sound or how you communicate with other people, or what assets you put on yourself or what accolades you put on yourself to make you seem better to others so that you get more appreciation, validation, acceptance, everything, love. It's actually something far simpler than that, because it's about you actually really just doing that for yourself first, right? Being authentic with you. How do you actually feel? What do you actually need? What do you actually look like on the inside? How do you sound to yourself? What words are you constantly saying in your own head to yourself? Right? That's pretty scary. A lot of people, it's not nice how you communicate with yourself. And so if that's your level of relationship, that's your level of connection, is that you're being sweet to people on the outside, but inside you're berating yourself, you're beating yourself, you're being harsh, you're being mean, you're putting yourself down, you're thinking yourself less than, and you've got that voice running. And that's how you are on the inside. And then you're trying to be authentic on the outside. And also being authentic might look like, well, telling everybody how shit you feel about yourself. And it's like, unfortunately, that's not going to really get you what you want. Yes, you're being authentic, but actually, then we just have a world full of people who are being authentically miserable. And I'm not saying hide it from others. I'm saying if you get tired of hearing yourself saying the same things and thinking the same things and feeling the same way about yourself, then it's to you just simply to make that decision and decide, what would it be like if I was authentic with myself and I had an authentic relationship? I was honest with myself. I listened to myself. I actually gonna hear what I'm saying to myself and give me attention that I need. Right? Because all of those voices that are in pain are voices inside of you that are crying out for love. Every single one of them, I guarantee it. When you boil it down, all the parts of you that are lacking in loss, not feeling good, feeling out of whack, out of harmony, not happy, all of those parts of you are parts of you that need your attention to be heard, to be empathized with, to be connected with, to be held, to be loved, to be seen, just exactly as you are without trying to change it. And no change can happen until you just go through that acknowledgement phase. And that's the second step. After connection, actually, there's a decision. The third step of transformational self-love is acknowledgement. And I can talk about that in another video. Or you can sign up and get my free course. You just go to my website, taraloveperry.com. And right there on the front page, you can sign up and get this course right now for free. It won't be always for free. Things are going to change soon, but right now you can actually get the entire course for free just by signing up, and it will come into your inbox in your email. And that will take you through the steps. And it will give you a guided meditation experience, which isn't really a meditation because it's more of a guided self-connection experience. There's an audio for that, which you get in the very first part that you can practice so that you can get that deeper self-connection. You can, bit by bit, learn and retrain in how to be authentic with you, how to meet the parts of you and begin to transform your relationship with yourself. And that's really exciting. I'm going to invite you and encourage you that if you want to make some kind of change in your life at the moment, and you're trying to think what that looks like and how it would look, and you're trying to imagine and think and manifest and plan and strategize, perhaps think about like putting the horse before the cart, putting the first step first, and actually investing some time into retraining yourself to connect with who you actually are, who you are right now, what's happening inside of you, for all of it, for the good, for the not so good, for the what's easy for you to connect with, what's wonderful about you, and what's also not feeling so good about you. And invest in that relationship. Because imagine what would happen if you did. It's like it puts all the pieces in the right place so that then when you want to play the game, you can actually play the game of life because you have everything in the place where it's meant to be before you start. And how can you play the game of life if all the pieces are all over the place and the pieces of you are all over the place and all disconnected and fragmented and not working together as one? They're all working in different ways, trying to get this, trying to get that, longing for this, lacking in that, and you're trying to get synergy, you're trying to, get fulfillment, you're trying to gain success or well-being or happiness or peace or whatever it is that you're looking to gain. How can you possibly attain that when the pieces of you are all over the place? You have to scoop them all up, right? And it's so simple to do. It doesn't actually take a lot of time. But the biggest problem I find with people is that they're just madly resistant to doing that. And that's quite simply because you're so trained away from doing it. It's like the carrot's dangling in front of you and you're so addicted to chasing the carrot, thinking if you keep chasing it, you're going to get what you want one day. And it's like you really have to be really loving with yourself and say, hold on a minute. How is that working out for me? How long have I been doing this and how much longer do I want to keep doing it? And when am I actually going to take the first step that's needed for your total self-wellness, for your total self-completion, right? To be complete in yourself. So that then when you come to playing the game of life, you're going to be extraordinary at it because you have all the parts that you need in place. And that maybe takes patience. That maybe takes responsibility. It does take courage. It really, at the end of the day, what it takes is love. It takes that you choose to have enough love for yourself, that you're not going to let yourself struggle and suffer anymore. You're not going to have to fight against life, but you're going to actually discover the truth of life within yourself, what your life is really all about, the gifts that you have inside of you. And next week, I'm actually going to be talking about your gifts and how you can develop them and how you access them. Because that's one of the biggest topics I get from people. When they come for their readings, they want to know what their gifts are and how they access. So next week, I'm going to share that with you. Obviously, it will be general. It won't be as individual as it could be. But generally, how you tap in, tune in, experience, like discover and find those gifts, that treasure inside of yourself that is completely unique to you. And to do that, I will bring you right back to this step one, and I will say you need to connect with yourself first so that you can actually be in the right place to find your gifts. You're present, you're there, you're meeting yourself where the gifts are, right? So that self-connection is absolutely everything. And especially right now, if you're struggling with relationships of some kind, I think everybody struggles with relationships of some kind in their life, right? Everybody has relationship issues. Then consider, well, how is this relationship with somebody else? How are my connections with other people really a mirror of how I'm connecting to myself? Where does that connection get broken? Where does the communication break down? And that will really give you an indication of where you need to meet yourself more. And so with so much love, I wish you all the very best in doing that. I wish that you would, because imagine what your life would look like with all the pieces on the board, everything connected, you in your right power, in the right place where you belong, receiving life as it's being given to you, and therefore receiving the gifts that can come to you, receiving opportunities, receiving the love that comes to you, receiving everything that you want, your success. And then what the world would look like if, instead of trying to pour into each other's cups and bargaining and selling and negotiating and doing sneaky manipulations that we don't even realize we're doing, we're still kind of doing the toddler behavior where we're going to try and manipulate our way to getting attention, is actually, what if everybody started connecting to themselves, disconnected from everything else just for a moment? And what kind of society would we live in where everybody was self-connected, plugged into not just their self as in the human self, the mind, the body, the emotions, because that obviously is a huge part of who you are, your self-identity as a unique individual person and your personality, but plugged into all of yourself, your breath, your spirit, your greater consciousness, your higher consciousness, your soul, your library of information that's inside of you, that's always been there, the wisdom, the infinite knowledge that you have inside every single part of you, and you really plugged in and connected and built that relationship. Can you imagine the amount of empowerment that we would see in this world? Can you imagine the genius that would be coming out of people? And the self-sustainability. And people talk a lot about sustainability, right? How do we create a sustainable world? Well, as long as we're in codependency to something or somebody outside of ourselves, that's never going to be sustainable. It becomes exhausting. We can't sustain those kinds of relationships. We can't sustain codependent relationships where there's inequality of power, where there's, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? A lack of responsibility, a disempowerment. But when we choose to have that self-connection, we're choosing autonomy, we're choosing self-responsibility, we're choosing, I'm going to sustain myself. I'm going to learn how to be a self-empowered individual with all of that which is myself. Everything that is self, beyond what I can see physically, beyond what I can fathom in my brain, mentally and logically, beyond what I can sense externally, you can sense internally. It breaks all the barriers. Your sensory connection to your within has infinite potential. You can sense into what looks like on the surface as way beyond the norm. You actually get into the real reality, the real nature of reality, the real nature of spirituality, physicality, life on earth. The real secrets, the mystery, is no longer a mystery. You are self-knowledgeable. You know yourself. And that is an extraordinary thing because it's never happened on this planet before, as far as we're aware. Have we ever had a civilization of people who are self-aware, who know themselves? We're still looking to answer the oldest of questions. Who am I? And why am I here? And what if we just knew? What if we just plugged in, right? Like being in the Matrix, the movie, you just unplug from the Matrix and plug into yourself. You would light up. You become more than you ever realized you could be. You become better than any versions of yourself that you can make up and try and tailor make that you think looks good or feels good or is good. It's like your natural who you truly are, who you authentically are inside, is way better. It smashes all those other versions to pieces. It's like way more powerful. It's beyond what your mind can conceive. You become an expanded, conscious human being. And yes, all of this from self-connection. You can't get any of that without first connecting to yourself. So I hope you understand. I hope this has helped you understand just how powerful and worthwhile this is, how massively life transforming this is, not just for you, which is first of all the most important thing, because this is your life, this is your soul journey, this is your experience, and this is your opportunity to have the most incredible experience you can possibly have. This life is a gift. How much can you receive it? How much can you use your own gift for yourself and realize your own gift and be lit up and be happy? And then what can you do to share that? Not feed others and be their supply, but share it. Light up the world. Create something incredible from your authentic true self, your self-knowing, self-realized self. And it really is going to create that incredible ripple of sustainability, where we stop being codependent. We stop acting like children that can't take responsibility for ourselves. We can change the way that we exist as a civilization of beings on this planet in the blink of an eye if we want to, if we all became self-connected, self-aware. And that is the kind of world I believe that we're heading towards. And we can create that for ourselves immediately. Anytime you say, yes, I'm willing to love myself enough to connect to myself, to transform my experience of myself and life, and therefore have a transformational experience of my relationships and my connections with everything else around me, and have that ripple effect, have that impact, influence others, encourage them to do the same thing, encourage them to listen to this video, encourage them to get self-connected, then you're leading by example, and we can effect such an incredible change on this planet in such a short period of time. And that's the world that we all dream of, I believe. We all have that in our psyche. We all have that vision of what a true humanity would look like. And this, I believe, is the way to do it. And it's like to take that medicine first for yourself, to take that conscious pill and plug it into you. So it works for me. It works for people. This really does work. So I hope this has been helpful and useful. And if it has, please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. If you disagree with me, let me know what you're thinking. And if this has made an impact, let me know what impacted you the most, because I really am here to share not only my experience in working with others and what I see works very, very practically and very powerfully, and also, you know, what I know from my own life, from my own 50 years of experience in this world, of what works and what doesn't work. And I really just want to make that available and help as many as I can to get switched on and live in that world of love and peace that we all want to live in. So thank you for listening. Please like, please subscribe if this has helped and you want to stay connected to this community. And I love you. And by the way, if you want to hop on a live Q&A chat with me right now, we have a hangout immediately after this, starting at 7 o'clock UK time, that's GMT, which is in about 3 minutes from the time of airing this video. Then there's a live hangout that you can join and come and chat with me, connect with the others. I can answer your personal questions. I can help with your personal challenges or issues. You just have to become a member. And right now there's 25% off. It will go up after January, but right now it's really, really affordable. I try to do this in a way that's so affordable and achievable for everyone that you can get the help and the support that you need to become wholly you and complete and lit up. And you simply access that by going to my website, taraloveperry.com. And at the top, you'll see where it says Self-Love Lounge. And I'm going to be hanging out in that lounge, waiting for you. And we can connect, and I'm here to help. So sending you so much love and peace and blessings, and I'll see you soon.